hello, people. Eurovision fam. It's Alesia Michelle. I am here and so excited because we got the running order for Melodifestivalen 2021, and I'm doing my annual predictions. I mean, we got to predict, and no, we don't have any songs. So everyone is just like, how can you even make predictions? You don't have any songs. Because it's fun. It's fun to do it. Hello, I'm so glad everyone is here. I'm going to hop into these comments already. Hello, Alberto. Hey, Chairman, if you don't see this, don't have favorites before you've heard the songs. Well, yeah, no, obviously we can't necessarily have favorites. Yeah, we have no songs, but like I said, that doesn't mean that we can't make predictions. So I'm really excited. Copyright Breaker says, my prediction is that at the final, Laureen will come flying down from the sky and will win it all. You know, if that could happen, I wouldn't be mad at it happening. I just wouldn't be mad at that. Marius says Laureen will save us all in the end. I mean, isn't she already saving us a little bit? She's already saving us, just a little bit. Hello, Russell. Hello, Patrick162. Hello, Sergio, Zach. Hey, Chicago. DC is doing well right now, but check in with me next week. All right, so Russell is already allowing us to kick it off a little bit. Russell says semifinal one seems to really be a difficult one. And I'm going to be like non-controversial and say that I kind of feel like semifinal one, I sort of felt like I think I know where it's going to come down. You know, it's interesting because I said this in my video where we were talking about the folks that were announced to participate at Melodifestivalen in 2021. And there really are like some really seasoned folks. And then we've got some interesting debut people. And unfortunately, I think that this year, I think a lot of the debuts may fall, but there's like two debut folks that I'm kind of checking for, like two debut folks that I'm checking for. And the two debut folks that I'm checking for the most are probably Tuesday, mostly because Tuesday like kind of just one idol. So it hasn't been that long since folks have had Tuesday sort of in their face. And Frida Green. And Frida Green, I think, has a strong songwriting team. And honestly, the stuff that I've seen of her, to me, she's the strongest debut artist. She's the debut artist that I'm most excited to see see how they do at Melodifestivalen this year. Okay, so let's talk about semifinal one, and I'll just get to kind of my predictions. You know, there's a lot of folks talking about Kadiatou. I don't know if that's how she pronounces it, but this song, One Touch, I'm not going to lie. I've seen some of Kadiatou's performances already, and I think Kadiatou was, I don't know if it was Idol or The Voice. I can't quite remember the format, but I'm not going to lie. I didn't feel like super wowed from what I saw in those performances. So this song would have to be like really good. And I do feel like, you know, them having her kick off the show does mean something. But there are some heavy hitters in this semifinal. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and say I think Paul Ray and Danny are going to advance in some way, shape, or form, whether that be direct to the final or second chance on a Hansen. I think that Arvingarna, I really loved. I do. I think that they're just really seasoned and they know what they're doing on the stage. We're not going to have bum notes. I think the show is going to be tight. So I think Arvingarna is going to advance in some way, shape, or form. And, you know, I'm thinking Jessica Andersson could pull an upset and not go to Honor Hansen or direct to final. And if Kadiatou's track is really good, because it is kicking off the show, so that leaves me to believe that the producers do think that whatever she's serving could be good, she'll advance. But if she does not advance, I actually might give it to Nathalie. I don't know. I honestly, again, like Kadiatou, I wasn't wowed by the previous videos of singing that I heard from her. So I'm sort of like, it really depends on the song, but I'm still saying that I think we could be surprised and maybe see Jessica Andersson not advance. If a heavy hitter is not going to advance, I'm looking at her. I think Arvingarna, I'm probably saying it wrong, but Arvingarna, no, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think that they probably have the best chance. So that's sort of what I'm thinking. So Ving Splash Film says Kadiatou has said that she will have a dance song. Well, that's cute, but you know, it could also be a dance song like Suzy Pear. And you know, that didn't work out. ESC Topless says, I think Lillasyster is going to advance. We'll get to it later, but Lillasyster is not Lillasyster, little sister. They're not the group that the rock group that I'm thinking has the best chance of advancing. I actually think Mustache is a stronger group, but that's just my thinking. And obviously we don't have songs, so these are all predictions. Russell says, I think that Jessica will flop. I don't want to call it a flop, but I just think that I would not be surprised if Jessica Andersson did not advance this year. What else do we have? Giorgio says, I think in semi-4, the direct finalists are obvious. Well, we're not at semi-final 4 yet. Let's get, so for semi-final 1, this is what I'm saying. It's a lock. I'm going to say that I think Paul Ray and Danny Saucedo are going to advance in some way, shape, or form. I think they're going to advance in some way, shape, or form. And I'm going to say of the debuts, I think Kadiatou might have the best chance of knocking out vet Jessica Andersson. And I'm thinking Arvingarna is going to advance. I just think that they're so clean on stage. No matter what they deliver, I think it's going to be something watchable and fun. It'll just put a smile on your face. And I think all ages could kind of get into what they're serving, even though they are a more seasoned act. So that's what I'm thinking on that. Okay, semi-final 2. Let's talk about semi-final 2. This one feels really obvious to me. I think of the 4 that will advance, Anton is going to advance. Frida, I believe, is going to advance. Patrik Jean is going to advance, and Daughter is going to advance. Now, how it's going to shake out could be interesting. I'm thinking that, I mean, like, Bulletproof was definitely a hit in Sweden. And I do think the Swedish population believes in rooting for folks again. And I think Daughter is pretty much a lock. So I have Daughter in my like yellow highlighted section of, I think Daughter will end up being direct to final. I think actually Anton might end up being direct to final. I really love what Anton serves, but I'm not gonna lie. In my notes, I actually have Anton at doing what do you call it? I have Anton as Anders Hansen right now, just because I'm kind of feeling like he might do like a little Felix Sandman, but I also feel like Anton has been gone for a little bit of time, so it could go either way. He's been sort of out of like the main Swedish spotlight for a while. So that could mean that, yeah, people are really excited to see him. So they, you know, really come behind him and are like, all right, direct to final. Or it could be a thing of like, oh, we're so happy to see you, but, you know, it's still Anders Hansen. And I mean, he does, I think, meet that younger crowd, maybe a little bit more than the older crowd. But Anton, I think, is definitely going to advance. But I do think that Anders Hansen might be how Anton advances. But I think Frida could surprise and go direct to final. I want to say that Frida and Daughter are a lock, but I gotta say, Patrik Jean, I think he could be like the Paul Ray of this year. I think Patrik Jean either might be direct to final or is Anders Hansen person. Right now, I have Anton and Patrik as Anders Hansen and Frida and Daughter as direct to final. I think Patrik is just going to give us a really good track. And I think that he has a really great voice. So I'm thinking he's advancing. In some way, shape, or form, he's advancing. But I do think semifinal 2 is the easy one. Let me hop into these comments. Okay, Russell, I think that Daughter and Frida will go to the finals. Giorgio says, I'm not saying Daughter is winning 100%, but she's just a lock qualifier. Absolutely. Shadow Revolver says Paul Ray was okay last year. Okay, Paul Ray was a debut artist who ended up going to Honor Hansen and then ended up in the final. So you know what I'm saying? So Patrick Jean, that wouldn't be a bad path to follow, because ultimately the end of that path is the final. So I don't think that that's bad. Nil Era, she will qualify like Ace and Mariette always do, yet in the final. Are you talking about Frida, or are you talking about Daughter? Because I feel like you might be talking about Daughter, and I think Daughter has a little bit of a different trajectory because of what happened last year. I don't know. We don't know. I'm just thinking. Ozbill says, I like Daughter, but what kind of title is Little Lot? Well, the song, or Little Tot, she said it's sort of like a little lullaby. So I'm curious about it. I think it's going to be good. I like what Daughter has to offer. So Nil Era was talking about Daughter, like she'll qualify like Ace and Mariette do, yet in the final. Yeah, no, I think Daughter has a better chance in the final than Ace Wilder and Mariette have kind of shook out in these last times of them going to Melodifestivalen. ESC top list, if anyone would surprise in semi 2, who would you guess it be? Frida Green. I mean, Frida Green is who I would guess would be the surprise, because she is a debut. This would be her first time at Melodifestivalen, but I think that she is so unbelievably competent as a performer and interesting. Shadow Revolver says, Toussé or Daughter for the win. Y'all gonna have to get in these comments and talk to me about Toussé. We're gonna move on to semifinal 3 and my predictions. So semifinal 3 is tricky for me, but I have kind of highlighted 4 folks that I think could advance, and I'm gonna talk to you about my hesitation with Toussé. So Charlotte Perrelli is coming back with a song that we know is going to be upbeat. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a la Party Voice. I really want to see Charlotte Perrelli in the final in some way, shape, or form, whether that be going through Anno Hansen or just going direct to final. I really do feel like Charlotte Perrelli could come out with a bang, really remind us why we love her so much. She's obviously a competent vocalist and performer, so I'm not worried about bum notes on stage or anything foolish. All I am worried about is making sure that the Melodifestivalen stylists style her appropriately, because Melodifestivalen stylists have a tendency to want to dress people over the age of 40 really matronly. And just because you are over the age of 40 doesn't mean that you need to be dressed matronly, okay? The next person, Clara, my girl Clara. I'm thinking that this could be the year where she's either Anno Hansen or direct to final. I think it's happening. She's giving us, I know, a ballad, which makes me a little bit nervous, but she's such a good vocalist and she definitely knows how to sell a song. So I'm thinking Clara's gonna pull through. Osa S says it's more like to say than to say. Okay. Next up, I would like to see Alvaro advance. And I think just off the strength that the song that he's going to serve is going to stand out and be unique, I think Alvaro might sneak in and be an Andra Hansen feature. He's really good looking. I think his girlfriend had the baby and everything, so we got like a nice little backstory. And Alvaro, I do think, is going to edge in. And honestly, if anyone could surprise in semifinal 3, I'm gonna say that it will be the rock group Mustache. I think could surprise in semifinal 3. And so let me get on to say. Let me get on to my hesitation with to say. The hype around to say is reminding me a lot of the hype around Faith Kakembo. And I will say, I bought into the hype of Faith. I was kind of feeling like she could have surprised on the stage. And unfortunately, the song, that song was not it. It was dated. The production was weak and the staging was like, okay. So, to say I'm just a little bit nervous, the song really is going to be what it's going to come down to. I mean, To Say has a nice running order slot closing out the space. So I do think To Say is going to advance. I'm not saying that there won't be advancement here. So just to recap, for semifinal 3, I'm saying Charlotte, Clara, Alvaro, and To Say, I think, are the folks that will advance. To me, it's difficult with this one to really say who's going to be Andrew Hansen and who's going to be direct to the final. Yeah, so I will say, and then I have to also say the other thing with Faith that made me nervous last year, that's making me nervous about this year with To Say is I remember all the press was just like, oh, Faith is gonna wow. Oh, Faith. And then the minute I heard the song, I just was like, so y'all are all liars. Because there is no way that you could have listened to this and really thought that it was going to advance. The minute that I heard it, I knew that it wouldn't advance, and it made it very clear who was going to be Andrew Hansen and who was going to be direct to final from that semi last year. So if you're just joining, thank you so much for talking all things Melfest. They released the running order. We know what semi folks are in, so we're predicting. So to recap, semifinal 1, I've got for advancing, I've got Kadiatou, Paul Ray, Arvingarna, and Danny Saucedo advancing from semifinal 1. On semifinal 2, I'm saying that Anton, Frida, Patrik, and Daughter will advance. Okay. And then on semifinal 3, I don't know who's going to be Andrew Hansen, who's going to be direct to final, but I am thinking that Charlotte, Clara, Alvaro, and To Say have the highest chance of advancing. And there could be a steal of Mustache, I think, coming in there and maybe being like an upset or something like that. All right, let me hop in these comments really quickly. Okay, let me see. ESC Strip Waffle. Yeah, she wasn't really strong last year. I think that was referring to Faith. Julia, just looking at the artist, do you think 2021 is going to be a strong or weak Melodifestivalen year? I think it's going to be a strong year. Last year was sort of a strong year. I think it was strong with there was 5, I think, really decent entries where it was like, ooh, who could win out of these? It didn't feel like a clear winner last year. But I do feel like this year, the difference is, I think, to me, this year, the difference is that I'm a little bit nervous just because there were so many derivative entries last year. So that musically, I don't feel like normally with Melodifestivalen, I feel like I can just listen to all the songs, like the full playlist. Last year, I had a ton of songs that I was just skipping just off of the strength that they felt really derivative. Fabi Bodden says, will an audience be allowed in the shows? Anyone knows? As of now, I think they're saying no. I think that's what's being said right now. Patrick says producers must have faith in To Say closing. I mean, we also have to remember that this is a lot of the same production and creative team that actually works on Idol. So To Say just won Idol. So, I think that obviously plays a role a little bit. Lewis says, I'm scared Kadiatou and Clara have the same songs. Oh, I mean, or you mean kind of given the same vibe? Well, to be honest, Kadiatou might not even advance. Let's be real. It really might not happen. Again, when I looked back at some of the performances, the vocal performances before, I felt sort of oh, okay, okay. I didn't feel super oh, wow. What else do we have for the comments? Benny ESC, I think Mustache will be an Andrew Hansen instead of Charlotte or Clara. I don't know if they'll knock Charlotte or Clara. I think Mustache could knock Alvaro. And if To Say's song isn't really hitting in the way that it needs to hit, then I think Mustache could steal that spot. I feel kind of confident Clara is going to advance, whether it be Andrew Hansen or be direct to the final. I think Clara's a lock. And honestly, I kind of feel like Charlotte is going to advance in some way. I don't think that Charlotte Perrelli is going to flop given what we already know of the possible song and just given the rest of the makeup of the group. Um, uh, Daniel says Clara came to deliver this time. Well, honestly, she was serving last time. She just happened to be in the absolute most difficult semi of last Melfest. Like last year Melodifestivalen, and once we got the songs, it to me there weren't a ton of upsets except in Clara's semi because that semi was just so strong. Exactly. I'm guessing this is the Swedish Melodifestivalen and not the Norwegian one. Well, yeah, no, we're talking about Sweden. Yeah, and yeah, Sweden's is called Melody Grand Prix. Lucas says, I'm curious about the Mama song when it's not the same songwriters and with one of them being Robin Hohenberg, a Melodifestivalen winner. Okay, well, let's just segue and talk about our fourth semifinal. We're at 21 in here. Thank you so much for joining live. So here's where I'm at. Semifinal 4 is definitely tricky, but of the folks who may advance, I'm looking at Tess. I'm looking at the Mamas. I am looking at Eric Saad to advance. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the dance band Sanix had a moment to advance. I will say I really like Lovad's vibe. I looked up her music when they announced her, and I really like her, but I think she might go the way of Amanda Ossa. And I don't think that Clara is going to advance. I'm really thinking that, but I will say if it's not the dance band, Ephraim might surprise. I like some of his stuff. Some of the singles that he's dropped were really cool, and I like his vibe. But he could also end up going by the way of I forgot the artist, but the song last year that I really love. Okay, yeah. He could end up having a moment like that, and maybe he doesn't advance, but I think Tess is going to advance. I do think the Mamas are going to advance, and I do think Eric Odd will advance in some way, shape, or form. Emmanuel, yes, Mongus. Yes, I loved that song. Danielle says Streets are saying Daughter Song will be an ESC winner. Well, them same Streets was talking about Bulletproof winning Melodifestivalen and coming to Eurovision and winning, and none of that happened. So yeah. What? Oh, I loved Clara's Samarinum. Actually, I saw and this is not the Clara Hammerstrom who's in semifinal 3. We're talking about Clara from semifinal 4. I actually like some of her stuff. I just don't feel confident. I sort of feel like it could go either way. And maybe Clara could be the Frida from last year and have that moment with just a song that's just so good and catchy, even though the staging was awful. But yeah, let's talk about the Mamas. I actually think that In the Middle is going to be better than Move. And with that said, I could realistically see, I don't want to jinx anybody. But I could low-key see the Mamas winning again, especially because I do feel like the songwriting team they have this time is actually pretty good. Not saying that the Move songwriting team wasn't good, but I do feel like this other team is good. And again, I don't know. I do feel like this song could be stronger than Move. I don't know why. My sixth sense is itching and telling me that it'll be a strong song than Move. Copyright Breaker says, I feel like Eric will be 2010s with his song and stage presence. I mean, look, here's the issue that Eric Saad has, honestly. He's not really a vocalist. He can't really sing like that. Ephraim in this semi is going to sing better than him, and that's why I'm saying Ephraim might have a moment that if Best of Me, even though that's so funny, you are the best in me. So this is the best of me, not the best in me. I don't know. So Eric Saad, like if I were Eric Saad, I would be nervous about Ephraim because Ephraim does seem like a singer. I've heard the vocal sounds good. So I would be nervous in that sense. Daniel says Mamas will finish in the middle of the scoreboard. I just don't feel that. I don't really feel like that will happen. ESC Strip Waffle says, to be honest, Popular in 2011 was awful lyrically. His performance was on point. I mean, that's the thing. The performance could be something, but the vocal, we still need a vocal to work with. Okay. Freddie Fox says, have you forgot about Danny? We're talking about semifinal 4. Danny Saucedo is all the way in semifinal 1. Okay. So we're talking about semifinal 4. Eric doesn't have to think about Danny Saucedo until and really he makes it into the final. So Bajay says, I wouldn't mind the Mamas winning either. They were good. Well, yeah, I mean, the Mamas we know are going to give us a competent performance on stage. They're going to be professionals. It's just going to be a very clean show that the Mamas are going to be serving. So I definitely think that the Mamas have a good chance. Aaron says, what about Daughter? Again, we talked about Daughter all the way 15 minutes ago when we were talking about semifinal 2. Daughter is going to be advancing and going to the final. Adil says the Mamas will be in the final for sure, but I don't think they'll win. We'll see. Look, the Mamas might not win. I think the thing, though, that I will say, when I looked at the whole body of work of people that they were bringing back this year, it's interesting that I felt that the Mamas still had a chance. And that's hanging on me just given the breadth of what we have here. And even thinking of like past trends, like I would not be surprised. And if the song is better than Move, which I do think that the song could be better than Move, we're looking at them winning again. Yeah. So ESC Moruchik, do you think a woman? I do, because I actually think the women in here are pretty strong. Yeah, I think they're pretty strong, and I think a lot of the female artists are able to kind of cross age demographics, because we have to remember how the Melodifestivalen and act works. I think that they have the opportunity to touch all those different pockets. And I mean, that's really a strength of the Mamas, is the fact that young kids can love the Mamas. I think there are teenagers that can root and love the Mamas. The people who are Mamas can love the Mamas. I just think there's a universality to them that a lot of these other performers, quite frankly, don't have. They have very specific audiences, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is, I think it is a thing. Okay. Ooh, we got a whole bunch. James says Daughter versus the Mamas would make for a good ending to the show. In a way, but then almost like not, because it's just like, oh, a repeat of last year, like in a way, it's almost like, oh, it'd be cool to see someone else maybe emerge. Baye says, if the Mamas don't win, they should leave it for a couple and then come back and they'll win eventually. That could be true. Aaron says, I think Eric Saad will compete this year with a slow, emotional song with the guitar. Well, I don't think that he is. I think we know that the song is pop. So drop down in the comments, because, the team knows what he's going to be serving to a certain extent. Benny ESC says, I mean, Kadiatou probably could end up qualifying because Linnea Deb and Joy Deb are the songwriters and they have written some bops. They definitely have, but we also know that they've had songs that have not advanced, that have not even made it to Honor Juanson. So we can't always just writer teams, because this is the thing ultimately, and I think I've said this in other videos, person sometimes it's not like they're just writing for themselves anymore, which I actually do kind of feel like, no, like you should write like the stuff that you do that you really like. But I do think if you are writing and you know you're writing for a particular person, you're going to kind of tailor your writing to fit that person. So I think that that's something. Uh, Radoslav says, I have a bad feeling that even though Sweden will choose a good song, the country will flop with the televote, just like in 2018. Sweden has begun to fall in the televote, just like Australia recently. Not if they send the mamas. I'll tell you that right now. Not if they send the mamas. I don't think that they'll have that issue at all. And I don't even know if I could comfortably say that about any other performer, even daughter. Which I hate to say, but it's just, I think that there's something about that like Swedish pop perfection thing. And it's not just the good looking young Swedish guy singing a well-produced pop track thing. I think that that can also kind of affect women as well, because then it's just like, oh, look at Sweden doing what they do well, sending us a well-produced pop track. And that's why I think with the mamas, there's a different element there. Zach Thomas says, do you think the mamas will have a sympathy vote angle? Maybe, but I don't like, it's hard to say that they'll have a sympathy vote angle when we know that they are competent performers that are going to be serving us a show on stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just sympathy. It's like, you deserve it because you're giving us professional quality. Cam, I think SVT may want Danny versus Eric round 2. But that's just my guess. I think that'd be interesting. I think with Danny having a Swedish track, it's also interesting because we know recently at Melodifestivalen, the Swedish tracks actually haven't been doing that well, which I hope Danny kind of changes that, because Danny, I haven't spoken a lot about him, but he's another competent, really professional performer. And yeah, most Bondrea says, Daniel says Bjorkman wants daughter to win. Maybe. Are you psychic? Do you know him? You know him in his mind? Emmanuel, Sweden wants to win this year. Look, Sweden wants to win every year, y'all. Come on. We know this. Sweden wants to win every single year at Eurovision. If they could win every year, I think they would. Fabi Baden says, it is too early to make precise forecasts, I think. We need to listen to their songs. Fabi, welcome. I spoke to your demographic at the beginning. Look, and actually I spoke to it in the description, so you could just pop over to the description and see. Duh, we have to wait for songs, but we're making predictions because it's fun. It's fun to kind of predict like what might happen and talk about like the possibilities. We don't have any songs yet. Come on. Daniel says, what do you think about Daughter's chances? I think Daughter definitely has a chance. I definitely think Daughter has a chance. I like everything that she does. I like all her songs. I like everything that she does. I love that she has a unique point of view and perspective on the stage, and there's no one really quite like her. And I think, where the issue that I'm running to with Melodifestivalen of recent years has been a lot of these derivative tracks, these tracks that sound like other tracks. And I don't like that. And a thing that I love about Daughter is because she's got that unique perspective, voice, and like point of view. She just, anything that she does, it feels unique. It feels different. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a ripoff of like this pop track that somebody else did. And I think that that's really important. ESC Top List. The producer said there are 3 potential Eurovision winners in the field. Of course they're going to say that. And to be fair, like, there might even be more than 3. Look, it's Sweden. They're good. They're competent. We know that. Lucas asks, I want a strong female vocalist act to win. The Mamas, Clara, Nathalie. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I saw some of Nathalie's performances. I The vocal feels competent, but I don't know if I would put her in like Clara Hammerstrom and the Mamas category when we're talking about strong vocals. Freddie asks, I think this year will be special, really competitive since it's Bjorkman's last year. I do think it'll be an interesting year. I'm going to be right back, and then I'm going to do 5 more minutes of this live. So have your questions ready, and back in like 5 minutes. Well, I'm going to be back in like 10 seconds, but we'll do 5 minutes of like quick flash questions. All right, rapid fire questions. Close out the live stream. Okay. Okay. Daniel asked, have you heard the MGP songs? No. What else? I'm gonna answer. Deep says, yeah, I did not listen to the songs of Melody Grand Prix. I really don't listen until like I might like to something. So then it's like actually like a reaction. So no, I haven't listened to any of those. Copyright breaker. If a newcomer wins Melodifestivalen, who do you want it to be? Frida Green. Frida Green is who I would want it to be. Cam, I think Bjorkman wants the drama of a surprise win or a Melfest icon. The icon that I feel like I wouldn't mind seeing win is probably Danny Saucedo. That's probably the one, just because I do think that Danny and because the song is in Swedish, I'm like, okay, could we finally have our moment of like Sweden? It's been so long. Sweden sending us something in Swedish. I think that could really be a moment. Aaron says, I think Melodifestivalen voting is unfair because other countries' juries are maybe vote for their least favorite and this song win and flop. And I don't know, that's too deep. I think everyone wants like a tight competition. I really do believe that. Freddie asks, as an American, do you relate more to Swedish music as for, say, Eastern European music? No, I wouldn't say that, because honestly, like when I come to Eurovision, I like the ethnic stuff. So for me, I would really and if you watch my channel, you would know I really would love to see them do something like Jan Henrik Falgren. I would love to see Sweden actually serve something like that. Daniel asked, what country are you most excited for this year? Kind of Bulgaria, Iceland, all the countries that haven't won before are who I'm always excited about. So Lithuania, Bulgaria, Iceland, any country that has not won before, I kind of am clocking for them. Keyhog says, question for once things get back to normal. Was it hard to get tickets for Melfest, and were they expensive? I didn't pay for tickets to the show. I went there as press. So I don't know. Lucas, I hope for a Scandinavian battle in ESC. Iceland and Sweden were my favorites last year. We'll see. We'll see. Georgios, I think Frida Green has better chances than Kadiatou, not going to lie. I completely agree with you. I've said from the beginning, if there are certain things I want people to get, the debut artist I think to watch from this whole matchup, from my perspective, is Frida. But Frida, don't let me down, because Faith Kakembo once had the crown and she let me down. Well, she didn't let me down. Those songwriters let me down. Lucas, I hope for, no. Dor Carney prediction. I feel like we'll have a clear Melfest winner and it'll be really good. But I don't think that this will be a good year. We'll see. I think it could be a good year. I'm hopeful. I feel like Daughter was really nervous in the final last year. She just didn't sound the same. I don't feel like she was nervous. I heard people say that. I think what happened though was I think she actually was singing live without the backing track, so then people could really hear what it possibly would have been like on the Eurovision stage without the like backing track with vocals already in it. It was just like her and I think some backing vocals. Um uh Dadumba says Daughter was absolutely nervous. I love how y'all are just like, you know, psychic and like in people's brains and minds and stuff. Cam, I'd love for Jan Henrik to win, but I don't know if he'll come back. I mean, I don't know if he'll come back, but I know that there are other like SAMI artists who could come back and give us something ethnic to represent Sweden. Mike Crystal, who's your favorite out of the female legends trio? Jessica, Charlotte, or Tess? Tess. Freddie Fox, what do you think about that Bjorkman will be the boss of the American Song Contest next year? Who cares? I don't know. I need that thing to feel real. I just don't feel like the American Song Contest feels really real yet. And I think I'm really curious for like what the process will be. Cause like, what are you going to have like local television stations like pulling together like who should represent the state? And I did hear that it is going to be like the 50 states, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. I think it should be like a battle of the regions, and that any type of contest should be set up like maybe like the Voice style, where like an artist from that region like has a team and then they battle it out like the way the Voice works. But to be honest, I don't watch American Idol. I don't watch The Voice. I don't watch America's Got Talent. I don't watch any of these talent shows. So I'm probably not the target demographic for the show. Adil, Jan Henrik represents Sweden one day. Would love to see it. Dadumba, what's your favorite Nordic country in Eurovision? I mean, I guess historically speaking, Sweden. Sweden's had more of my like winners. I preferred their songs on the whole more. Aaron, if San Marino will win next year, will it be in San Marino? No. Yeah, no. Cam, I personally stan Jessica Andersson, so I'm rooting for her. Okay. Deep, how do you feel about Kino coming back this year for MGP? I think that they should. I think that, you know, I'm surprised that I haven't seen more kind of seasoned performers returning to some of the national selections this year. And maybe it's just too early in the Eurovision season to tell. But I mean, as a performer, it's been really hard for people who are like singers and performers. So to me, if there's any year to participate in Eurovision, this is the one, because it's not like you're about to be selling out all these concerts or anything. So you definitely got the time on your hands. Also, let's do Big Splash Films. Iceland and Bulgaria are now favored to win ESC 2021. Oh, because they opened the odds. Well, I would just like to see someone who hasn't won before win. Copyright Breaker, if it's set up like that, the South would win all the time because they are more prideful than the rest of America, I feel like. That is not true. They don't even have like the largest population. So not necessarily, but I could see the South winning because real talk, I mean, let's think about all the singers from the South that are amazing. It's a lot. Freddie Fox, Alesia Michelle, imagine a duo between Zara Larsson and Carola next year. Well, we know it ain't happening, but ooh, imagine. Georgios, I assume the Mamas will have a high finish and maybe even win. Did you see them finishing well last time in Eurovision? Yes, I did. Grivada says, why aren't you answering my questions? I don't know what question you asked because the last thing, oh, I see this one. Okay, how do you feel about Lithuania in the festival? I mean, Lithuania was low key. I like them better than Iceland last year. I would have loved to have seen the group win Eurovision last year. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining my live stream. It's gone a little bit long, but our predictions live streams typically go pretty long. I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you've never followed my channel before, please follow my channel. Welcome. You won't regret it. And in times like these, you know you need more content. Okay, we're just sitting at home. You don't have nowhere to go. You might as well just go on and subscribe. Click on some of these videos. Entertain yourself, you know. it's kind of boring out here in these streets. So welcome. Also, thank you. If you already are subscribed, thank you all so much. Thank you for coming, joining, participating in the comments. I so appreciate it. I'm excited for Melodifestivalen, and honestly, I'm excited for this year's national selection season. I'm not going to be following too tightly, I don't think, but I think I'm interested. I'm probably going to follow along with Esti Lau this year. I did a reaction to Esti Lau. If you haven't watched that, check it out on my channel. There were some strong songs there. I'm really excited to see what Estonia could bring, because I really was liking a lot of those tracks. So yeah, thank you so much. Someone asked me, could you make a list of your favorite workout Eurovision songs? I couldn't do that because I don't work out. So I probably couldn't do that. Probably not the person to ask, but thank you so much, everyone. Drop down in the comments. Bye.